Upon the advancement of technology away from metal swords to create the first plasma-based weapons in the Star Wars galaxy, the first form of lightsaber combat, Shii Cho, was born alongside these new weapons. This form is known for its simplicity, with Jedi Master Kreia being noted as saying, "It's simple, yet its simplicity is its strength." In Star Wars lore, this was taught to younglings as their first form of saber combat, and likewise it is taught as the first form of combat for our group as well. This is not simply for tradition's sake, however. Shii Cho is a form that is based on moving your opponent into an advantageous position for you. To do this, one must have good control, timing, spacing, phasing, and footwork. In essence, Shii Cho will teach you things that will be necessary long after you begin work on other forms. And once you have learned these fundamentals from this form, you will have shown your determination by this. It is then you will be asked to choose a path through the Force, as this is the determination form. The first aspect of Shii Cho, as well as any other saber form taught within this group, is the kata. The kata is an exercise in proper strikes, strike zones, and spacing. This is meant to teach students what Shii Cho is, and how to differentiate it from other forms and blind swinging. As demonstrated in the video, the strikes for Shii Cho go as follows. Starting from an opening stance of holding your saber in front of you, with your dominant foot forward, and your non-dominant foot behind at a 45-degree angle, the first strike is a horizontal strike to the right shoulder, after bringing the blade all the way around your head. The second strike is a horizontal strike to the left shoulder, while continuing to bring the blade all the way around your head. The third strike is a vertical strike to the head, with a full pullback. The fourth strike, again, is a horizontal strike to the left shoulder, transitioning by bringing the blade around your head once again to do a diagonal strike on the right ankle, and then bringing the blade around your head once more to complete a diagonal strike on the left ankle. While defending, one is meant to block these strikes by holding their saber in a vertical position for the shoulder strikes, a horizontal block to protect the head, and a diagonal block to protect the ankles, as seen demonstrated in the video. One of the first exercises students are taught when learning any new form is the idea of doing perfect katas. Generally, a teacher will pick a certain number between 10 to 30 perfect katas, and the idea is that the students together will rotate back and forth, doing kata after kata perfectly, while watching for mistakes. If either student were to make a mistake in this process, the idea would be for them to start over at 0 and continue this process until they have successfully completed the assigned number of perfect katas. Once the kata is well understood, instructors generally move their students on to freeform combat. Being the first form of lightsaber combat, the lessons of freeform go alongside the lessons of general saber techniques, such as phasing and control. In contrast to the katas listed above, freeform lightsaber combat does not have an order to use specific attacks. The attacker is given the freedom to strike wherever they think will connect, within strike zones, of course. Consequently, the defender will need to focus upon their opponent's movements in order to see where these strikes are coming from, so that they may properly defend themselves. After receiving training in the first form of lightsaber combat, through exercises such as the kata, as well as freeform combat, at a certain point, students feel that they have mastered the form. At this time, the student may request of the group a trial in their skills on the first form of lightsaber combat. During such trials, a student is put against various masters of the discipline and asked to perform their skills in a grand total of no more than 3 rounds. In these rounds of combat, the masters are looking for specific things from the student, in that we are looking to see the fundamentals of saber combat being used effectively in this form, which I will now share with you. The first fundamental aspect of this form that we are looking to see is control. This is one of the most important aspects, especially for a new saberist. To attain mastery of Shii Cho, one needs to have control of their strikes. This is defined as not using too much or too little force when swinging, just enough to make contact with the opponent that can be felt. This is not only a matter of execution, but a matter of safety, as we are a theatrical martial arts group and seek to protect all of our members. Following up control is footwork. For Shii Cho, every strike should have one full step, save for the opening first strike, which should be a half step. In reality, footwork is important to maintain position and balance, and should be used to also help you maintain the next aspect we're looking for, spacing. Spacing is defined as being able to reach your opponent without reaching beyond your center of balance. This is difficult to define, as applying a number of feet or inches between opponents would inevitably create problems by other opponents of varying heights. So what we are looking for when it comes to spacing is that you are close enough to strike at your opponent, but you are not overextending yourself to make that so, while not being so close to your opponent that either of your movement is restricted either. Beyond spacing, another aspect we look for is timing. Mastery for Shii Cho is considered to be a consistent 60 strikes per 1 minute, or 1 strike per second. I would like to take this opportunity to place special emphasis on the consistency portion. It is unwise to sacrifice other aspects of this form to attain a specific speed, something we found to be a natural impulse for a great number of students. And while the concept of 1 strike per second may appear daunting, especially given the large rotations of the blade around the head, it is honestly not as fast as it sounds. If you have learned this form well, the speed will come with practice. The next aspect we look for is battlefield awareness. You are tasked to know your location, the location of your opponent, and both of those in relation to everything around you. Your opponent will try to position you to their advantage in this trial. You should do the same, as well as prevent them from doing so. For commendable remarks from the trial, or brownie points as we like to call them, if you are able to successfully position your opponent, say by backing them into a wall or forcing them into a ditch, and get a kill because of this, it will reflect positively for you in your trial, as that is what Shii Cho is meant to do. Finally, the last thing we're looking for is your ability to teach the form. To be granted mastery of a form is to know it inside and out. It is to be capable, to be willing to show others the way. This is the most subjective part of the trial, but your teaching ability is generally based on 2 things: your knowledge of the form itself and your willingness to teach others. This has been your introduction to the first form of lightsaber combat. Upon completion of this trial, you will have attained mastery of the determination form and be asked to teach others. For more instruction on Shii Cho, please check with your lord or master. With that said, you are well on your way in your path through the group, and remember, the Force will be with you, always.